Again, hopefully the first part of your conference is going well. And as I said this morning, we have to take advantage of all our opportunities to engage with our students, no matter where they are in their development. But I think it's critical. At this point in time, I have a video that I'm going to share with you that kind of sums up the 20th anniversary, the time before, the time now, and hopefully the time in the future. So I know there are a few more people that's still in line, and if we have overflow in the Campanile room, if you can't find a seat here, but for those that are seated, that are currently sitting, can you make sure that you're accommodating to someone walking around aimlessly with a plate? "20 years of ISCORE. I start with one word: excellence. Thomas Hill set the vision, he set the expectation, and he set the standard. Most people don't like to talk about race, and he made it clear that this conference will be about race and ethnicity. Over the years, I've seen so much growth in our students, and over time I've seen growth in our campus through the lens of our students.
The university has been incredible. When it started off, there was nobody, maybe less than 100 people. If you were there last year, it was packed. I mean, this is something that we really need, and I think this group is helping us to find that. How can I make a change? How can I make a difference?
Our faculty want to help all of their students succeed, but they don't always recognize what the tools are that are there to help them be successful. And so connecting them with those tools and saying this is, signaling this is a priority for the college too. Student success matters, retention matters, and we're responsible for that classroom experience. How can we do better?
So I think just even that enthusiasm across campus for this project is really interesting and intriguing, and I don't know that it was as strong way back in the day, but even when we show up at ISCORE, people are wondering, like, how many people did Iowa State bring? Is this your largest delegation, right? So we definitely have a buzz around what we do.
Over my time working with ISCORE, I've seen a lot of evolution. At the core of it, it's involving different partners on campus with the commitment and with the excitement. The project is more institutionalized and more buy-in from different areas and different people on campus.
We have a very visible department, and we like to be able to show that we are part of the university, and ISCORE is a big initiative for the campus and a very important initiative, and so we gladly wanted to be part of it.
Thinking about how race and ethnicity shaped my education, whether that was what I studied in my graduate degrees or organizations that I was involved with, how I approach my curriculum and the courses that I teach or the work that I do, even with the McNair program, always considering how these systems play into how we interact and experience our daily lives. Maybe I would have found that somewhere, but I definitely found it with the ISCORE project.
So I'm really excited about this celebration. It's really a very unique project. It's an amazing program. But we now have an opportunity because a few years ago we made this project, this big conference, we made it a part of the university. It's an office, it has full-time staff, it has budget dollars tied to the university. So I'm really excited about the opportunities to expand.
We're so proud of the fact that ISCORE has been an important part of Iowa State for so long, and that it will continue to be an important part of our efforts into the future.
We are an office, but we're really an office without any walls or barriers, because it's critical to do the work that we do, that we are in partnership with everyone on campus. This is a university program.
So I'll be on a call for something totally different, and I'll see somebody that I met at ISCORE, and they're able to feel a little bit less alarmed. I'm able to ease their tension a little bit because they met me and they talked with me at a roundtable discussion at one of our sessions.
We have a number of sessions that are being presented by different experts on campus. We have over like 40 different people that volunteer the day of. We have a committee of 20 people that come together to work out the details of how we actually get things done. We have office ambassadors. We have a web series that we're developing. So we're doing a number of different things that I think has been embraced by our campus. And I really say that our campus is thirsty for more.
I'm a team lead right now. I'm supposed to be the one with the answers. And at first, that was really difficult to try and navigate. But I took that in and I honed that skill that I should step up to the plate, especially when my students and my team have different questions and I'm supposed to be there to help them answer that.
Having the chance really as a faculty member to hear more about students' lives outside the classroom, their histories outside the classroom, everything that they bring with them in strengths and in challenges changes the decisions that you make. It helps you think through things. It helps you ask who's in the room as we're having this discussion. Who do we need to get some more information and feedback from?
We created an award, the Brenda Jones Change Agent Award, and it's to encourage students to be a change agent. And if you've ever had an opportunity to talk to Brenda, you know she's been a change agent her whole entire life. Early on, we use a lot of Brenda's artwork with the early publications, and she's done it for free. This has been her contribution to the project. So when the committee brought to me the idea of creating an award on her behalf, I thought it was a home run.
Somebody that grew up as a young kid knowing who Billy Mills was and what he did, to be able to meet him in person, not everybody gets to be able to say they introduced an Olympian and a medal winner.
Being in sessions where you could process, you could be a part of the conversation and not be judged for not knowing or not having the full understanding. And I think when we can kind of humble ourselves a little bit and talk to each other and not at each other, really amazing, powerful things were happening.
Other institutions across the country really look at this project and it's a model for them to follow.
This is the stuff that I'm made to do and to give back to the program.
We do it so that we can make this place, Iowa State, accessible and better for all our students. Okay, I can tell you right now, 2021 is going to be a dud because I'm putting all my chips in the middle of the table today. In your program and in your communication, this is what I want. So we're going to take a group photo at 3 o'clock? 3:10. I got it right, Joelle. You got it right. Okay. But at this point in time, I'd like to invite Martino Harmon to the stage for his remarks.
Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to the 20th anniversary of the annual Thomas L. Hill Iowa State Conference on Race and Ethnicity. Let's just get a round of applause again. Because at this conference, we have some people who are here in the morning but aren't here in the afternoon, and some are just arriving. I want to start by welcoming all of our returning attendees and our presenters this year. I want to welcome our first-time participants. So just by show of hands, if you're here for your very first ISCORE, please raise your hands. Wow. Japan, I think we'll need a bigger space for next year. So, wow, that's awesome. And a really very, very special welcome to our INCORE ISCORE alum. That is unbelievable that we were able to bring so many of them back to share in this experience, and I really can't wait to hear from them very shortly during our alumni panel. ISCORE is not only special to Iowa State, it's a special tradition at Iowa State. After 20 years, it stands as a campus cornerstone for faculty, students, and staff to share knowledge and have challenging conversations about the tough topics of race and ethnicity. And I'm going to go off script for a second, so don't get nervous, Japanna. Where's Jenny Pollard? Don't get nervous. I got this. I'll trim some things already. But I was really thinking about something when I think about this conference and this whole initiative. And it's sort of a, things just don't happen. That's the theme. Things don't just happen. And so I kind of think about what if. What if Dr. Hill went to ISCORE every year and just went to the conference and never came back with this vision? Obviously, you want to do something when you go to a conference, but not many people come back from a conference with this vision. So what if he didn't have that vision? What if Japanna Kellogg said, you know what, that's too much work. I'm not doing that. That's not in my job description, right? Who are we going to find to do that? What if the countless number of volunteers said, I don't have time. I can't put that much time and energy into this project. I have my regular job, work-life balance. I can't do it. What if that happened? What if students said, I don't know that I can commit to going to a conference and then coming back in the fall and having a class and then coming back and preparing for this big it sounds nice, going to nice cities, but I don't think I can do it. I just don't think I can do it. What if what's happened is not an accident? What if the president at that time, a few years ago, said no to making a commitment to make this a part of the university as an office and to bring in talented staff like Joelle? What if? So I just wanted to really reflect on that, because I think we're not here to pat ourselves on the back, but we have to understand that this is special. We know we have problems. We know we have challenges, but this is one of many special ways to meet those challenges. So when you look at this room, you can say those what ifs were important. Thank goodness. We can say thank goodness. And this is another, yes, please. So I want to thank all of you for making this another record-breaking year in terms of your attendance, and there's plenty more to go. But as I look back at the program booklet and I reflect on the years of ISCORE and ISCORE, I can say with confidence that this is one great example of Iowa State's commitment and investment in creating a welcoming and inclusive campus. And although it's a great investment in all the work that we do and all the progress that we make, we still have a lot of challenges to overcome. I would compliment and really acknowledge the Students Against Racism, any student, any faculty or staff member that's standing up and speaking out against racism and bigotry, because we have to do that. And we have to push each other so that we can overcome the challenges that we have. So this is evident, these challenges are evident by the climate that we have here on campus, but not just on campus, but across the nation. So I hope today has proven to be transformative, a very helpful experience for you, to energize you, to look at those action plans and just figure out, what can I do? What can the institution do, but what can I do in this space so we can all strive together? This conference would never be a success without the many, many, many dedicated committee volunteers who represented a diverse group of departments and people across campus over the years. I want to just take a moment. I know we did this earlier, but we can't do it enough. I want to take a moment to acknowledge and to thank the talented team of volunteers who year after year continue to make ISCORE and ISCORE and everything associated with this project a success. So I would ask those individuals, whether it's just not just this year, but if you have in the past served as a volunteer or contribute, I'd ask you to stand if you're able and be recognized. Thank you. A few of you may be standing a few times here, but I also want to thank the ISCORE, ISCORE office staff and the student ambassadors, which is a new component of the project. Japanna says I keep pushing him for new things, so he's making it happen. But I want to thank the office staff and the ambassadors for helping us as the campus continues this conversation year-round, ISCORE. And as Joelle said in the video, we're an office without walls. So I would ask the office staff and the ambassadors to please stand if you're able and be recognized. Now, before I bring up the next speaker rather, I'm going to go off script again, but this is for a good reason. Japan, I need you to join me on the stage. That's not a request, that's an order. People know I'm not bossy, so that's a little, well, maybe I am sometimes, so, all right. It's really difficult to surprise someone at their own event, but you have to keep a few things from him. But when you have a very talented person like Joelle, she's able to make the magic happen. So she's able to keep this surprise from Japana. But Japana, I want to give you this presentation. He needs a little something here. Oh, I got him. Don't worry, I got him. But Japana, I want to, on behalf of the entire university, on behalf of everyone who has been involved with this project, I want, on behalf of Dr. Hill, who was the person that inspired us, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for all the work that you've done when it wasn't in your job. I want to thank you for all the tough times, even during conferences where you had to put out fires here or at the actual ISCORE conference. I want to thank you for loving this project so much. Because he never stops talking about it, right? You can say, hey, how's the weather, Japana? He says, well, ISCORE, ISCORE, the project is wonderful. He never stops selling it. He loves this project. He loves it with his heart and with his soul. And that's why he's able to do something like this for so long when it wasn't part of his job. So although I'm pushing you to do more, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for what you have done and let you know, man, that we really appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much for everything you've done. So I have this plaque. Okay, all right. I ain't giving you a mic. So I'm gonna leave it here in appreciation. The plaque reads, in appreciation to Japana Kellogg for 20 years of outstanding leadership and service to the ISCORE project and the positive impact that it has made on student success and professional development for the Iowa State community. All right, Jordan, you can cry now. I looked at the boss. I said, I can't give Joelle. I said, I don't give him the mic. She said, no. We just keep moving. Because she would lose the bet for sure if he took the mic. Now I'd like to invite this year's ISCORE College 2020 champion, one of the champions actually, the Graduate College and Dean Graves to the stage.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Vice President Harmon. And I just want to say how thrilled the Graduate College is to be a college champion for ISCORE 2020. We are proud to be a part of a campus team supporting ISCORE this year, as you've heard. The College of Veterinary Medicine is another college champion. Dean Dan Grooms couldn't be here today, but is pictured on the far right, along with Martino, Harmon, Tom Hill, and Brian Campbell, who received his PhD from Iowa State University. Both the Alumni Association, led by Jeff Johnson, and the foundation, led by Larissa Holtmeyer-Jones, are supporters this year as well. All of us want to thank Japana Kellogg, Joelle Mitchell, and all the others who have organized ISCORE 2020. The first ISCORE was held on March 3rd of the year 2000, so today's conference marks the start of a third decade in which ISCORE has been an important part of the Iowa State fabric. I noticed this morning someone else used the term fabric in a speech, and that was not pre-planned, but I found it really interesting because that was the term, that was the word that came to mind for me as I was thinking and deliberating about what ISCORE meant. To me, ISCORE is a durable strand in the intricate fabric of this campus, a strand that comprises a multitude of diverse components. As important as ISCORE was when it began in 2000, I wonder if you might agree with me that ISCORE is more important than ever today. So here today, at this moment in Iowa State University history, during a week, as President Winterstein mentioned, in which Music Hall was renamed in honor of Simon Estes, the grandson of a slave, let's celebrate the vision of Tom Hill that led to ISCORE. But let's also acknowledge our progress. And let's not only acknowledge our progress, but let's also intensify our focus on the importance of diversity and inclusion and on the goal to make Iowa State University a place where every person feels welcomed, included, safe, valued, and equal. For me, and I suspect for you as well, ISCORE is an important opportunity to reflect on what I can do to make a difference. It's also a time to share and to celebrate the good already being done. So I'd like to share just 3 short stories with you, one about a member of the Graduate College staff, and 2 about members of the graduate faculty who are based in different academic colleges. Many of you have heard of the Ronald E. McNair Post-Baccalaureate Achievement Program. The McNair program prepares first-generation students and students who are underrepresented in graduate school for entry into master's and doctoral programs. The program is named for Ronald McNair, an astronaut and physicist who died in 1986 in the Challenger launch. McNair earned his PhD from MIT 10 years before his death. The U.S. Department of Education administers the McNair program, which began at Iowa State because of George Jackson, assistant dean in the Graduate College, who first secured federal funding. You probably know that Dr. Jackson's name appears on the Black Cultural Center on Welch Avenue, and that a graduate assistantship program for underrepresented students that we oversee in the Graduate College is named for Dr. Jackson. Thelma Harding, who's in the audience today, Thelma, would you stand? She's maintained our federal funding, which is awarded on a competitive basis, and we are proud that under Thelma's leadership, 82% of Iowa State's McNair scholars begin graduate school immediately after earning their bachelor's degree. And nearly 20% of those students choose to stay here at Iowa State for their advanced degrees. Thelma would be the first to emphasize that her success is due to our terrific students, her staff assistants, and the Iowa State faculty who support the program by mentoring students on best practices for conducting research and transitioning to graduate school. Thelma Harding also organizes a symposium on campus for underrepresented graduate students to present their research. The symposium, which will take place this year on April 25th, was recently renamed for George Jackson. Back in 2006, George supported students who came to him with the idea to organize this sort of venue for graduate students to hone their communication skills and in presenting their research. So my second story centers on Dr. Michael Young. I'm not sure if Michael's here today, but Michael Young is pictured in the upper left, and he's with the Department of Mathematics. Dr. Young's vision was to help more students, particularly underrepresented students, enter graduate school. His specific focus was on the cohort of these students who clearly have potential to earn a master's or a doctoral degree, but have faced significant challenges as undergraduates. These students might be at risk for being denied graduate school admission. Dr. Young's brainchild, a post-bac program, provides a bridge between the undergraduate and graduate experience. This is a one-year certificate program that ensures opportunities for students to prepare for graduate school. The Graduate College was pleased to make a little bit of an adjustment to our policies so that post-bac students can serve as teaching assistants. Just like graduate students do, serving as a TA builds confidence and strengthens these students' graduate school applications. More than half of the math post-bac students are underrepresented, and of the 6 students in the 2018-2019 cohort, 4 are now in PhD programs, 1 is in a master's program, and 1 took a great job in industry. My final story is about Iowa State's participation in a consortium of 37 great universities known by the acronym CERTLE. CERTLE stands for the Center for the Integration of Research, Teaching, and Learning. The goal of CERTLE is to help graduate students who seek to become professors implement evidence-based teaching strategies. As you can see from CERTLE's values statements, diversity and inclusion are at the heart of CERTLE's programming. The consortium is committed to the philosophy that adopting a wide array of teaching strategies helps to attract a diverse student population to STEM fields, and that more diversity in STEM enhances innovation and creativity. Iowa State students and postdocs benefit from CERTLE through free access to programming from each of the member schools. Likewise, scholars at all our partner institutions benefit from programming that originates here at Iowa State. Which brings me to the woman at the center of this story, Tara Jordan, Associate Professor in Human Development and Family Studies and Assistant Provost for Faculty Development. Earlier this semester, Dr. Jordan and some of her graduate students, all of whom are underrepresented, delivered a CERTLE program on effective strategies for mentoring graduate students. The session attracted an unusually large audience across the CERTLE network. I'd like to take a minute to share a brief audio clip from that session. You will hear one of Dr. Jordan's students, Maria Alcivar, describe what she calls a breakdown she had while attending a conference. So let's listen.
And it was at a conference where I basically had a breakdown, and I'm sure graduate students who are listening know about that. It was a time that I just needed some support from someone that already had the experience. And it was my colleague, graduate student friends who actually connected me with Dr. Jordan during the conference. And I was actually crying. And Dr. Jordan talked to me. She said, we have time to work through this. You need to, take some time to read some literature that I can send to you, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, because you're going to continue on to your PhD, right? And I was like, no, this is it for me. Like, I'm finished. Like, I'm doing this thesis and I'm done. Like, I need to leave this school. I'm tired, I can't do this. And she looked at me and she said, you're going back to your hotel room and you're going to look at the courses that you need for the PhD, and then we're gonna have a conversation.
Well, as you could imagine, that must have been an interesting conversation, but I think it was very effective. Maria is now pursuing her PhD, with Dr. Jordan serving as her major professor. And what's more, Maria recently received the prestigious K. Patricia Cross Future Leaders Award that was given to her in Washington, D.C. The award is only given to a small number of graduate students who show exemplary promise as future leaders in higher education. The Graduate College is so proud of Maria, and we're very proud as well of outstanding graduate faculty that we have all across campus, like Dr. Jordan, who are making life-changing positive impacts on graduate students every day. We are pleased to partner with the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching to support our institutional membership in CERTL. So let me close by reiterating how honored the Graduate College is to be a champion for ISCORE 2020. I enjoyed the lunch. I hope you did too, and I'm ready for a great afternoon. Thank you for your attention.
Hello. Hello. Okay, cool. My name is Francis Hayoma, and I am a senior studying in finance. And so as shared earlier this morning, I'm part of the ISCORE ISCORE cohort of folks, and so we developed lyrical expressions and about our experience with race and ethnicity last fall. And so today I'll be kind of sharing a lyrical expression with you all today. Just a quick side note, I don't think in my 21 years I ever thought I'd be doing something like this. As a kid, I kind of gave up writing, and so having this opportunity actually means a lot. So I want to thank the ISCORE ISCORE group, the folks that led the project, I guess give me this opportunity. So, yeah. So the lyrical expression I'm sharing with you today is called In 4 Years. Bayanihan, community, kamusta ka na? How are you? I'll tell you the story of a Filipino kid in Iowa when he couldn't find his voice. He was taught to work hard and think fast, keep quiet, don't be a bother. So he kept his mouth shut for his father, and he worked hard and thought fast. His father studied in Manila to become an engineer, but when he came over here, in the land of the free, home of the brave, big businesses would never accept his degree. Instead, he bounced from job to job, feeling. Imagine that's you. That's frustrating, isn't it? You spend 4 years giving your money, your time, your energy to an institution that promises, for another degree that promises, for an opportunity for a better life for his kids and his wife. If that was me, I'd be kind of pissed. That father's son, the bunso of the family, the youngest, his name is Coco. He watched how his father responded. He learned to work hard and think fast. When people suck, keep quiet. Don't start a fight. If you keep your mouth shut, all will be all right. So he worked hard and thought fast. And 4 years, despite the grind, he still heard all the Asian jokes. They said he got the big brains and good grades, but small eyes and nothing new. It's the same old jokes replayed. He's been here in America, but he's still not welcomed. He keeps quiet and he keeps his mouth shut. He thinks of all the waves of exclusion and all the promises for diversity and inclusion. From railroads to plantations, across the nation, refugees and adoptees, domestic and international, lumped as one, yet so very different. Despite the differences, he keeps quiet while working hard, because in 4 years, he'll have graduated from a university. In 4 years, he'll become his parents' vision of the American dream. In 4 years, he'll be the one to deliver the benefits of a degree promised in which his father never got. But then Coco remembered Vincent Chin, because Chin worked hard and he kept quiet, but he still got murdered. Coco studied colonization, immigration, model minority, mental abuse, and his own identity, but his mental health still hasn't messed up. He started learning about Grace Lee and Alex Dang, and in between, everything he's ever learned is being turned and churned. He finds himself trapped in a box. Pressure is building up. Pressure from himself, from his parents, from society. Injustice is everywhere, so he's given up. But then, for the first time, someone tells him to speak up. And so he does. And for the first time in a long time, he speaks his story of being forgotten to those that will listen. He cries in front of his loved ones about how he's felt for so long. He heals alongside friends and family with trauma and pain, and he shares this idea of bayanihan, the spirit of community, coming together to achieve one goal. He's just a kid who was taught to work hard and think fast, but he also learned how to speak, cry, and heal. Finding resiliency, even when surrounded by white noise, he's finding peace with himself because he's finally finding his own voice. Thank you, guys. So I'll pass it off to Renee.
Thank you so much, Francis, for all those powerful words. Can we please give another round of applause? Half of each year, Iowa State professor Brenda Jones lives in Rome, Italy, where she teaches students from a range of disciplines in the College of Design Rome program. After growing up in Oklahoma City, she moved to Des Moines, Iowa, where she began her undergraduate and graduate work at Drake University. In 1986, she completed an MFA and began her career at Iowa State University. In her own paintings, often created with the medium of pastels, she explores figurative compositions, which express her love of color and her concerns about human relationships. They have been exhibited nationally and internationally, and are included in many private and public art collections. Brenda Jones has created 14 original paintings for ISCORE, and you can see them displayed all around campus. In 2012, the INCORE ISCORE Brenda Jones Change Agent Award was created, honoring Brenda Jones as the first recipient. It is an honor to have Brenda join us at this ISCORE this afternoon. Please join me in a round of applause to thank her for all she has done. This award recognizes an INCORE ISCORE student alumni who continues to contribute to the understanding and awareness of many topics such as race and ethnicity, and continue to create change in their communities. It is our honor this afternoon to present all of the INCORE ISCORE alumni student scholars with the 2012 Brenda Jones Change Agent Award. INCORE ISCORE Student Scholar Alumni, please stand up and be honored. Award recipients, please pick up your gift bag at the volunteer table outside of the sunroom, and be sure to take a picture after the lunch keynote. Thank you, INCORE ISCORE Student Scholar Alumni, for creating the change in your community. Now I would like to invite Brenda Jones to the stage and share with us her vision of this year's anniversary artwork.
Thank you. I have 2 minutes, which is impossible. I look across this room, and when I started at Iowa State, which you know by now, it's 33 years, 34 in August. There was no one here. I felt isolated, alone, sometimes scared to walk across campus. But I refused to be a coward. That came from my dad. He was a soldier. I refused to live in fear. And I still speak to everyone I get on the elevator with when I walk down that campus. I don't care who you are. Hello. Because I learned one thing. This isn't about me. I'm going to love you if you hate me. That's your problem. I did nothing to you. I took nothing from you. And usually I tell somebody, am I a minute and a half? To either you get even or you let it go. Let it go and take your power back. That's all you have. You do not live in somebody else's shoes. You just move on. Iowa State has been incredible because it hasn't been easy here either for a lot of people. Doesn't matter if you're white, black, blue, green, I don't care. It has been difficult because we're human. When I paint and create art, I think about reality. I think about what I feel, what I see, because that's the only thing I can create. Sometimes I'm told what to do, Japana. But this year and I love doing the posters for you guys. I wanted to do, and that's a quilt that I'll finish when I'm done with Iowa State. This piece was because of what I saw. And I don't know if you're looking very closely, but that's our future. Those babies are our future. And if we sat back and let kids drown, if we sat back and put them in prison, and if we sat back and forget that there's 2,500 so-called children, they don't know where they are, we should be ashamed. That's what that is. That's a protest for me. I can only give you what I love and what I can do. I cried in Italy when I saw that baby. Still gets to me in that water. What has happened that we forget how fragile our world is? All we have is to give. That's it. And we can blame everybody but ourselves. But the truth of the matter, that's what we're going to have to look forward to in the future. And we need to break whatever insanity is in our hearts. We need to let it go. I'm doing good. I am so proud of you guys, more than you can imagine. I've been integrating things since I was a little girl. And when I see you in this audience, and I know what you've done with your lives, you're passing it on. You really did listen years ago when I told a few people, excuses are the tools of insufficiency. They build monuments of nothingness, and those who dwell upon them are seldom good for anything else. You did it. Clap for you guys.
Thank you, Brenda. It was great getting to learn a lot of wisdom from Brenda at the conference in Portland. My name is Tiffany Farrell, and I'm a senior majoring in biochemistry, and it is my pleasure to introduce back to the stage our morning keynote facilitator, keynote speaker, Dr. Vijay Kanagala. Dr. Kanagala will be serving as the lunch keynote facilitator. Today, we have the honor of hearing from ISCORE, ISCORE alumni student scholars about their Iowa State University experience and how it has shaped their professional journey.
Do we need people to stand up and stretch a little bit? Nope. All ready? The food is settling in? Is my panel here ready? Good. Okay. Again, my name is Vijay Kanagala. I use he, him pronouns, and I identify as they see, which is the pre-colonial way of unifying people from the South Asian continent, subcontinent of South Asia. So that's if you're thinking of Chicano, Chicana versus Latinx, they see as the term that you use for South Asian folks, and I identify with that term. We have a great panel here today. I'm trying to think, I think I've been a team leader for maybe 3 or 4 of them. I was learning with them, but I was also the team leader. And so what we're going to do is have them introduce themselves, and then I have a few questions for each of them. And we've talked about, obviously you see the panel, it's a big panel. We're not able to have everybody respond to all the questions. So we have a game plan here. And we'll try to stick to the time. So if everybody on the panel could introduce yourself, your name, your pronouns, if you're comfortable with, your current place of employment, the degree that you earned at Iowa State, and why did you choose Iowa State? So whoever wants to start.
I can start? Okay. My name is Ruby Murillo. I graduated from Iowa State in 2013. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I currently serve as the Director of Latinx Student Services at a small private university in Minneapolis. And I majored in psychology when I was here.
My name is Farhan Hazlett. I graduated from Iowa State in 2006 with a degree in finance. I currently, I served 8 years as a financial consultant at Wells Fargo. Now I've transitioned over to a compliance and risk consultant. And I chose Iowa State because Iowa State chose me.
That's hard to follow, Farhan. I appreciate that. Jason Smoka, class of 2005, did my undergraduates here in electrical engineering and computer engineering, master's in systems engineering, then decided I didn't want to be an engineer anymore. So these days I work for a group called Amerigo Education as the regional director of campus operations, and I help private high schools establish international student programs. Oh, and I chose Iowa State University. Thank you for the George Washington Carver Scholarship.
Hello, I'm Amanda Berengill-Smoka. Most people who know me, I'm Mandy, actually. And for those of you who don't know, Jason and I met here our freshman year. We got engaged before we graduated. We got married 2 years later. We have 3 kids. Yeah, so there's that. So I actually found out about ISCORE because of him. My pronouns are she, her. I got a bachelor's in child, adult, and family services. I am currently a group therapist at a mental health hospital called Streamwood Behavioral Healthcare. And what made me choose Iowa State was the science-bound program. And then when I got here and I was taking math classes, I was like, I don't know if I can do this all 4 years. So I changed my major, and MVP took me in, so I got to keep a scholarship.
I didn't want to disrupt your applause. Stephen Johnson here. I use him, his pronouns. I serve as the Director for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for Student Programs at the University of Kansas in our School of Business. I got my, thank you, whoop whoop. I got my bachelor's degree in 2013 in Industrial and Manufacturing Systems Engineering. And then I chose, hey, Nesby works, Trio works also. And I chose Iowa State. I really fell in love with the campus. I came on 4 campus visits. I just wanted to be sure. But I really fell in love with the campus. And I felt really enveloped in the campus environment each time. It felt very communal. And even as Ruby and I were reflecting on our experiences over time, I think community was something that I thought I was going to get here, and I absolutely got.
Hello, everybody. My name is Eddie Diaz. I am a
2005 alumni from Iowa State. I have an undergrad in political science. I am currently a site director at Des Moines Area Community College. And I chose Iowa State because I am the oldest of 5, and I'm a mama's boy, and I didn't want to get too far from home. So I'm from Perry, so it's just down the road from us.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Heba Mohammed. Pronouns are she, her, and hers. I graduated from Iowa State in 2011 with a major in MIS, so Management Information Systems. I started out in the Computer Science College, got a little bored, and then decided to add on some business components to my major. Currently, I am one of the senior IT program managers at Medtronic, headquartered in Minneapolis. And I chose Iowa State because of the MVP scholarship, and also because my family lives in West Des Moines, so just wanted to be close to home.
I'm Caleb Short. I was part of the ISCORE program the same time as Heba. I don't remember the year. When was it?
2007.
2007, okay. Graduated in 2009 with a degree in elementary education. Immediately moved to Chicago. And then I've been teaching for about last 10 years now, and recently retired from classroom teaching to see where life led me, and it's led me into politics. I'm gonna run for state representative here in Iowa. House District 25, it's south of Des Moines. It includes my hometown of Norwalk, Iowa, Winterset, Cumming, Spring Hill, Martinsdale. So if anybody in here from those areas, I have a petition I need you to sign to get on the ballot. I'm a progressive Democrat, and the primary is June 2nd, so tell your friends. I came to Iowa State because I became a fan of Iowa State actually when I was in middle school, when Jamal Tinsley and Marcus Pfizer took the clones to the Elite Eight, so I had to come to Iowa State. I came as a civil engineering major in the freshman honors program, but then switched to elementary education and haven't regretted that. So.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jamil Perez, and I identify she, her, hers pronouns. I guess I'll back up. I graduated civil engineering with a minor in engineering sales in 2011, and I worked as an engineering sales professional for 8.5 years. And as of about 5 months ago, I work for Iowa State in the program for Women in Science and Engineering as an outreach and recruitment coordinator. So I'm happy to be back home. And why I chose Iowa State is I grew up in Puerto Rico, and I came to visit my senior year of high school. It was very cold, very, very cold. But I came through a program now called the Multicultural Scholars Preview Day and Scholars Day, which was actually just last weekend here on campus. And I came in to visit the university, and I fell in love. And I remember sitting at the airport in Des Moines, heading back to Puerto Rico to finish out my senior year of high school, and telling my mom, if financial aid came through, I was coming to Iowa State, which is a lot to say. And so luckily, financial aid came through. Also a George Washington Carver. I think somebody mentioned it earlier. So a George Washington Carver scholar, and it just made sense for me. I didn't feel like I was just a number here, even though I was only on campus for about 3 days before making my decision. So.
Thank you. If folks are wondering what the MVP is, it's the Multicultural Visions Program. It's another scholarship in MSA. So all the acronyms, right? So if the panel could tell us about your leadership experiences during your time on campus and how the ISCORE, ISCORE experience influenced your leadership.
So I did a lot of student organizations. I had a lot of leadership positions on campus, but the ones that stand out the most are, I first started with Asian Pacific American Awareness Coalition, APAC, and then because of him, I joined Maya's. And then after attending ISCORE, another ISCORE scholar, and I started a group called identifying as me. It's no longer on campus, but me stands for multi-ethnic. And those of us who are biracial or from interracial marriages or transracially adopted, we kind of felt like we didn't really have a place. And so when we were on campus, this was like our support group, our safe haven. We could be ourselves without the expectations of, oh, well, I don't speak Spanish and I'm Mexican, or I definitely didn't speak Tagalog and I'm Filipino. And so we all had these issues of like not quite fitting into a box and not quite fitting into society's perceptions and stereotypes of our racial and ethnic identities. So it's sad it's not here anymore, but we used it while we were here for what we needed. And so that's how ISCORE kind of really impacted my experience here in terms of student leadership.
And I'll take that question too. Slightly different answer than yours. So I wish I had the time actually to be a part of some of the organizations, but I didn't. So when I started here, as I mentioned earlier, my family lived in West Des Moines. And I'm originally from East Africa. I'm from Sudan, and part of our culture, we help our families out. So something that I've done was work full time during my time here at Iowa State. So I would wake up, take a ride to West Des Moines, go to work. I worked at Wells Fargo. But really, my ISCORE experience, I would say, and then there was the video earlier in the beginning talked about one word describing ISCORE. So to me, it was bravery. So bravery to speak up for myself, bravery to speak up for others, bravery to have various perspectives and be proud of those perspectives, and to be able to implement something that was needed at work, to be able to interact the right way, to be able to defend others, to be able to be fair. So having the ISCORE experience helped me out quite a bit through my time at Wells Fargo, and then I'll touch on that a little bit more later as well.
Thank you. The next question is, what do you remember most about your ISCORE experience?
So I think one of the things that I remember most is that it was the first time that somebody else paid for me to fly across the country and stay in a hotel for a week. And I learned that this is a normal thing that people do, and I have not stopped doing it since. I do it for my job now. It's wonderful to do that for Ann, and I have experienced this. It's incredible. But what I remember on top of that wonderful experience was that it was intentional. Right, it was a time spent that was intentionally designed to talk about a certain subject and a certain topic. And coming from Iowa State, right, and coming from a school that could easily not deal with this and could easily not talk about it because it impacted really such a small percentage of their student population, was completely feasible for them as a school. And so to go somewhere and to have these very intentional conversations and to have these discussions and dialogues and know that I was going to come back and have some very intentional conversations at this campus was something that was very impactful for me.
I remember it being a year of a lot of firsts for me. I had just got my first passport. I had spent my first time out of the country. We went to Toronto for NSBE that year, and then a couple of months later, this would have been my first flight. And so I hadn't traveled in that way before. And just thinking about the ways that I was stretched that year, carrying that into the ISCORE experience was something I remember. When we went to ISCORE, I remember, Aurelio, I don't know where you went, but if you're in here, I remember Aurelio asked us, okay, who's interested in going to the mall? And he was talking about the National Mall, but I didn't have context. I was very interested in going to the mall to go shopping. And so when we were at the National Mall, I mean, I learned so much there, truly. But it was definitely different than my original expectation. But I just remember having those kinds of experiences throughout the whole time and challenging my ways of knowing at the time and just being stretched during that time. One of my favorite things was at the end of each night we had a debrief. And we were put in a space where we talked about what we experienced throughout the day and we were able to hear perspectives. And being in groups with friends, oftentimes I would be friends with people who had similar perspectives as me. And so being in a space where I got to hear other perspectives that challenged me, really was an impactful experience that I think helped me to be in spaces now where that's normal. But I think without the ISCORE experience, I don't know if I would have put myself in environments where that was the case.
We do teach soft skills through the program, so thank you.
For me, I think for me the most memorable thing is connections and also being vulnerable. I was in a place where I thought, I identify as Hispanic and Latino. These talks, they're gonna affect me, but I got this. I'm fine. You know, I'm a minority at Iowa State. It's gonna be fine. And then the first day, I'm in that session that Stephen was talking about, and I'm bawling. And so the sessions as we went along the week, they affected me a lot more than I thought they would, and they made me think a lot more than I thought I would. And so it was about introspection, but also about being vulnerable with people that I didn't necessarily know. My cohort, I only knew 2 people before we got into the cohort together, and there were 2 other Puerto Ricans that were a year younger than me. I was also a sophomore when I went, and there were only like 2 or 3 of us that were sophomores in our group. If I remember correctly, the majority of our group was freshman students, and so they brought a different perspective as well. And so ISCORE was eye-opening. It was a time for me to be vulnerable in a place that, even though I didn't know people, I still felt comfortable being vulnerable with them. And so I always remember that. And then the connections that I made, I'm still friends with several people from my cohort. I actually lived with one of them my last year in college. One of them is ISUPD. Natasha Green was in my cohort. And some other folks that either still live in the area or I'm still very much in touch with. So.
Thank you. As you can tell, now we do teach soft skills. They have a great. I mean, some people have their first flight experience. I was part of one of those experiences with a student. Again, in my head, I had flown a flight before, and I still remember the student just screaming on the plane, and the whole airplane was actually cheering him on because they understood what was happening on the plane. This was from Des Moines to, I want to say, this was either Tampa or the one to San Francisco, one of those 2 trips. And I still remember vividly and thinking, oh, wow, yeah, I was nervous too, and I just didn't think about it this way. So thank you for that. What was it like? And I don't know, just to understand, how many of you know what the process looks like when students go to ISCORE? Just raise your hands if you know what the process is. Okay, let me just, if I could, it might have changed. I'll take the liberty here to give you, I've not been part of the project for 8 years now, actually more than that. But students are selected and assigned an ethnic or racial identity that's different from their own. And through the exploration of that identity, they come to understand a little bit better of who they are, right? The fundamental question of who I am is the fundamental question that the ISCORE project seeks to get to. And when they get to the conference, students are assigned to go to different sessions throughout the day. And around 6 o'clock in the evening is when we have a huge, large group gathering of all the participants, all the team leaders. Everybody gets into the room, and we talk about our experiences that day. And it is probably one of the most moving experiences that you can witness. It's emotional, it's raw, it's hurtful, it's painful, it's joyful. It's all of the emotions together. All of any emotion that a human being can feel is experienced in that room in that 5 to 6 day time period. And it carries over summer. People are still processing. They come back and take the fall class. It's University Studies 105. I don't know why I still have a folder of that in my laptop, but I still do. And they take the class and they come back in spring and they present at ISCORE. So that's the gamut of the entire program. And so for nearly a year, they're kind of engaged and in many cases become lifelong friends and partners too. So, somebody else want to respond to that question?
All right, I'll go on that one. So for me, coming from a small town, Iowa, Norwalk, just white as could be, did not experience diversity till I got to Iowa State, and so it was transformational for me. I don't think, shed a tear, but seeing the tears of other people really, really took me to a place of self-examination, and I had to realize that if someone else is brought to tears by white privilege, it exists, okay? And I did not realize that before, and so my eyes were opened, and it basically changed the trajectory of my life. It was during that time that I was switching from civil engineering and trying to decide, what was important in life, what I cared about. And so just hearing these stories, and then when I started doing research on my cohort, which was African American, and seeing the racial gap in income and education and opportunities, it just, made me decide that I did want to get into education. I believe that education is the foundation of everything. It is the great equalizer, and it's the number one issue in my campaign. It's the biggest thing I believe in. That process led me then, so after graduation, moving to Chicago, teaching. It was actually under Arnie Duncan, who was the superintendent of Chicago Public Schools at the time, in East Lawndale in Chicago. I lived in the neighborhood, and then I moved from there to the Southeast Asia Center, which is in Uptown in Chicago, and was running an after-school program for Southeast Asian immigrants and their children, so helping with homework and translations, and also a social service office, helping people get energy assistance and Social Security and Medicaid assistance. After Chicago, this was around 2010 when the earthquake happened in Haiti, and so decided to basically sell everything and then do some fundraising and move to Haiti as a volunteer. While I was there, and before my money ran out, got hired in the position that I was volunteering with, which was a microfinance organization called Zafen, which was, I did the online presentation of small business loans for Haitian entrepreneurs. And so we would solicit donations in the US and Canada, and then distribute those funds in Haiti, and then we would track the progress, and we would get repayment, and it was a revolving loan that had like 70 to 80% repayment, and we tracked job creation, and in the time that I was there, created about 3,000 jobs in Haiti. So that was an amazing experience. Came back to the U.S., decided to come back to Des Moines because after living in Chicago, I kind of realized what I was missing here in Iowa. So came back to Des Moines, kind of fell back in love with the city. I started a nonprofit organization in Des Moines that partnered with other nonprofits and other individuals, and we started an after-school program to help low-income students right near the state capitol, East Capitol View neighborhood. So that's been running since 2014. It's still going to this day. We've worked with hundreds of kids and never charged a penny, work with their families. We provide snacks, we do field trips, we bring in guests, just trying to, my whole goal as being a teacher was to give others the opportunities that I had, through my white privilege, trying to dismantle my privilege or expand the privilege to everyone, basically. Because I don't think we need to break down privilege, we just need to give it to everyone, expand the access to it. So after that, let me see, what did I do? I went to Japan. Let me finish this up. Japan is flagging me down. Okay, went to Japan, came back, taught middle school math, and then started getting burnout from teaching, and 4 days ago, decided to run for office there. ISCORE did that. All right, ISCORE did that.
it's like time is such a colonial concept. I mean, seriously, it is. It is. If anybody wants an article, I'll send you an article about that, right? But it's also, the reason I say that is because we do so many things that we have so much passion for, right? We don't have the time in the day to actually talk about them, right? So thank you for kind of like falling within the time limit that we have, and we can keep talking about our work because it's important work and we need to keep doing it. So Jason.
Yeah. So I was one of the early cohorts that went to ISCORE, and so I'll be honest, I was very upset. And I went back and I had to reread the application to make sure that this was what was supposed to be happening. All right, because I was like, look, I'm, and as I learned from the conference, I'm like at that age as like a multi-ethnic, multiracial identity model like student, like this is what I want to learn about myself and and now I've got to go and learn about somebody else? Like this isn't what I signed up for. And then I went back and I read it and I realized that I had. And I was like, oh, that's what I signed up for, so I'm going to do it, right? But it was so informative and so transformational to focus on somebody other than myself and my own identity. All right, and this is before implicit bias became like a really well-known and understood concept. And to go into workshops, especially focused around the Asian American identity, right, and the model minority, and the implicit biases in the media that take place, especially around the gender stereotypes for male and females, right? It was incredibly powerful for me, and it is something that has stuck with me. And so now, a little while later, a few years later, decades or so, I work with a student population that is 70% from Asia. Right, and so currently right now, I'm dealing with a large amount of implicit bias and racism regarding COVID-19 coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
And my students that are dealing with a lot of this where the smallest cough that they have, right, even amongst medical professionals, right, so these biases that we see, these implicit biases, they continue to run, they just mutate and take new forms. And so to have spent that time doing that and learning that and not focusing on myself as much as I wanted to, but I had time to go to a few sessions, right, it was great. It was a very transformative experience.
Thank you. I was trying not to cough when I was flying yesterday. I was like, okay. And I actually sneezed on the bus, and there was another Asian brother sitting next to me, and he kind of looked at me like, really? Like, you got to do this to me? So I was like, I'm going to keep it down, right? So if a couple of you could talk about how has the ISCORE ISCORE experience shaped your professional journey so far? And how do you think it's going to shape it even going forward?
So Jason mentioned earlier that that I actually travel for work. And I know a lot of you guys have actually probably flew for the first time during this experience. But ISCORE was actually the first time that I actually flew. And it was to New Orleans. And I remember, getting pushed through the terminal, right, in the gate because I was so scared to get on the plane. So I had my stuffed animal, and I was afraid. And and I even said, yo, I will actually pay you guys back. How much does this ticket cost? I'll pay you back, right? And just kind of give you guys a little context, I'm born in Iowa. My parents had me at 16. So as you can imagine, money wasn't really fruitful. But what that did was that set the stage for what I do today. I actually travel every other week now cross country. I actually was in New Orleans this past week, and it actually came back full circle. And as I was in New Orleans, I went by the Marriott on Canal Street, and I kind of walked just to kind of bring everything in and kind of, really think about this experience that I'm going to have the opportunity to speak about today. And not only did I think about how I'm traveling now, how I was so afraid then, but now I'm traveling now, I also thought about, how vulnerable and how vulnerable we were and how emotional that experience was. Growing up in Iowa, there's a lot of times where, I might be the only black person in a classroom. Mm-hmm. I was the only, in finance at Wells Fargo, I was the youngest and also the only man of color in a lot of those meetings. But what the ISCORE conference did, what it did was it kind of empowered me, right? And it talked about our purpose and the purpose that we actually have on this earth. And so And part of that purpose, and part of that purpose is to be able to inspire and do using your diversity. And part of our superpower, I believe in superpower. I think everybody has a superpower, and part of that superpower is our color and our ethnicity. And so what it talked about was, no matter where you are, you do have purpose, you do have value. So make sure you use that diversity in any setting that you have. And I remember Dr. Hill at a commencement ceremony. He said, I was there. He said, as you guys get ready to graduate, do one thing for me. He said, bring your color. Mm-hmm. And all of that actually came, and I love it because now I think about it. I think about that statement every day. And so as I work in a predominantly white state and a predominantly white company, I'm always bringing my color, understanding that I do have value, and I do have a superpower that I can bring. And I learned that at that ISCORE conference.
So the next question is something that everybody wanted to respond to, so we're going to do that. And this one is, please share who on campus was most influential and supportive in shaping your Iowa State experience. And this was something that we chatted about this earlier. Oftentimes when you're doing student affairs work on campus as student affairs professionals, you seldom hear what you've done, the fruit of your labor, if you will, right? And often, sometimes I've gotten emails from students 5-10 years later, right? And so this is an opportunity for them to talk about the influence that this community's had. There's several people in the room that have had an influence on them, so please.
I can start. So how many of you, like myself, are so either and or, first generation college grad or college students, first gen, raise your hand, and or child of immigrants, so mom and dad. So for me, I'm sure for many of you, I'm a first generation college graduate and daughter of 2 immigrants from Mexico who didn't finish elementary school and who still don't speak English. Both of my parents work at a meatpacking plant, working 14 hours a day, sometimes 6 days a week, usually 5 days a week. And so my biggest aspiration has always been to make them proud, right? To honor their sacrifices. And I think that's something that we all share when we share that we're children of immigrants, is to honor those sacrifices. And when I got to Iowa State, which I felt like was by miracle, I didn't know how to transition. I didn't believe in myself. I wasn't empowered, and I didn't know how to study. I was one of I think I was the only woman of color on my floor. And so I was really struggling, and I got a 1.67 GPA my first semester. And so I remember telling my dad, I'm like, oh my gosh, I knew it. I shouldn't have gone. Maybe I should come back. And Japan called me to his office at the very beginning of second semester. And I was so intimidated. I was so afraid to go talk to Japan because there was this tall guy who was just like, why did you do so bad your first semester? So I was like, what is he going to say to me? And so that was the first time that I got to talk to Japan and get to know him. And he connected me with tutors, with a college coach. Somehow I became a peer mentor. I was like, why am I going to become a peer mentor? I'm not even doing well academically. And so Japan really believed in me when I did not believe in myself at all. And he saw something in me that I hadn't discovered yet. After being a peer mentor for 3 years, I was also in McNair. So Thelma was a really big part of my experience here on campus. I remember emailing her, I think I did so bad on the GRE, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna get into grad school, the phone calls, and Thelma always just being there to make sure that I was fine and to know that I could power through. And so that empowerment was amazing. Joyce as well, the hugs that she would give me when I was having a really bad day, I don't think she ever knew how much those meant to me, that just having that comfort from a mom on campus. And so all of these people not only helped me honor my family's sacrifices, but they also allowed me to do things that my parents never even imagined that I could do, like going to ISCORE and doing ISCORE and doing research and studying abroad and then going to grad school. Those were things that weren't even in their peripheral. They were just like, let's get you to go to college and graduate, and then we'll be happy. And so all of those other things was what really uplifted me and has really served my, my confidence today as a professional. So thank you.
So,
Good. So I love how this question is actually phrased. It talks about who was influential and supportive. And there was a lot of people on this campus that actually helped me, but two that stick out. I say Carmen Flagg, just because she was very supportive of me. You know, my Iowa State time here was kind of up and down. And no matter what, you know, whenever I saw her smile was just so infectious. She always smiled at me and always supported me and encouraged me to do well. And I also say Dr. Hill, because of his influence, right, of what he represented. I'm one of those people that if I see something, I feel like I can achieve it. And I remember being in high school, and there was a black guy. He was a principal, and I went to his house, and he lived in this. And at the time, you know, we lived in a one-bedroom apartment, 3 or 4 of us. And I go to his house, and he lives in his house, and I said, "Black people can live here?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so when I saw Dr. Hill be the VP of Student Affairs at Iowa State University, all I could think about was, here's a guy who can reach that height in this community. I can do it too. So those two right there.
So I'm gonna be quick, but I'm gonna group it into 3 groups of mentors and influence, right? And so the first was the group that was old enough that I respected, but young enough that I listened to, right? And so I'll throw out there Japana and Richard Freeman when I was here at school, were the like you heard on the audio clip, they were the people that could call you out on your BS, right? And it didn't always feel good. You didn't like it. You might not talk to them for a week, but you respected it afterwards. Like, oh, you're right, okay, all right. The second group was the group that you just found that you maybe needed, right? And so there's a professor here by the name of Mani Mina, who was a great influence on me and just keeping me as an engineering student. The next then was Pete Engel, who I never thought I would need to spend time in his office, even though I was by his office all the time. But one day I just found myself in there because I really needed some support, and he was there.
Don't be surprised, Pete.
And then the last is a group of individuals that you may not even know that you influence other people. And it's the ones who, as Ferran said, just being in your orbit encourages us to do more and to be more. And so I think of Dr. Hill, Dr. Jackson, and Dr. Blake that were here during my time. And just being around them and just being like, wow, if you can do it, I mean, I sure as hell better be able to do it, right?
So it's really hard to follow. They've kind of named all the people. Oh my gosh, Tom, Carmen, Thelma, Japana, Laura, Pete. I mean, I can look through just this audience and be like, you and you and you and you. I was all over the place, and wherever people were giving out hugs and smiles, you better believe I was there. So I was looking for support everywhere. This was after a time when I really wanted to drop out of school. So I really struggled with, like, do I even belong here? Am I really even like college material? So after getting diagnosed with learning disabilities, which B. Negri, I don't know if she's still here, back then it was called Disability Resources. Today I think it's called Student Accessibility. Awesome change in the name. She found a way for rehabilitation services to pay for my testing to get paid for so that I could be diagnosed with learning disabilities, so that I could get accommodations. And Iowa State has some amazing accommodations. I did my master's at University of Illinois, not as great. I'm just gonna say. Iowa State is doing amazing with accessibility and accommodations. So it's really hard to pick some, but I also have to give a shout out to the Sisters of Sigma Lambda Gamma because they were like my family on campus and super influential. They're the ones that allowed me to be who I am without feeling like I'm not fitting some stereotype, that I can just be me and that's good, like that's enough. So I would name up so many more people, but I'll stop there.
I love what you said about family. I think that we use the word cyclone family sometimes, or maybe you do, I don't know, I did. And for me, it really was a family. I joked, even when I came in, of seeing so much of my family today and people who I did not tell I was coming, but who I'm so happy to see. And so I'm gonna name a few people too, starting with one of my ISU moms. I have 3. Tynez, good to see you. Dr. Ankar, who is also an Iowa State mom of mine. I told her years ago, I want your job, and I have been climbing in that way ever since. And to know that we are still connected and that she still supports me even years after I've graduated is awesome. Sarah, who was here at check-in, Sarah Merrill, I did not expect to see her, but Sarah Merrill was one of the first people I met on campus when I came for the academic program for excellence. Sarah, hey. And Sarah coached and mentored me and extended grace and taught me about patience. And so I appreciate you for that. Jeff Johnson, I love you and your family. Thinking about the family that I had at the Body of Christ Church and how all of those families enveloped me. I would not have survived the program without that love. My family is in Kansas City, but I was the first to kind of go further away, 4 hours, but further away. And I got homesick so much. And when I worked in orientation, I talked about being homesick a lot. But I got homesick so much, but it was easy to not feel that way because people loved on me. Thelma, I was a McNair Scholar as well for the McNair Scholars, whoop whoop. And Thelma has supported me even to my doctoral journey now. I'm a doctoral student now, and Thelma is still supporting me in that way. And Japana, who we joke about me not actually being a student in student support services, but I was a SSSP student adjacent. And so even though I was kind of adopted. So even though I wasn't in that office, I was in the office. But I'm just so grateful for the many folks that have mentored over time. But I think what's important for me too is that folks are still willing to serve in those mentoring capacities, and I appreciate y'all so much for that.
So I will keep it brief. There's
a
lot of overlap. My focus is going to be on the students. There's a lot of people that I went to school with that were supportive of me because we're in a similar predicament. I find it super interesting that at my stage in my career, people that were in fraternities, I was in Sigma Lambda Beta, with the different fraternities, we're all at DMAC. And there a lot of them are people of color, and it's coming about again that they're supporting me as a new professional in middle management, and people that have gone through things at DMAC are reaching out to me, and it's great to see that they supported me as an undergrad, fellow students, and now as a fellow professional in my institution.
All right, I'll keep this quick. I do have a couple points I want to make sure I hit on, so I'll speak quickly for the sake of time. But I want to thank Dr. Hill. I think all of us wouldn't be here without you, so not enough thank yous go to you, so thank you again. Thelma, I see you in the room. Thank you. I was a part of the McNair Scholars as well. Who else do I see? Sorry, my eyes are horrible. Japana, I've gotten the call from Japana to be a part of this, and of course I couldn't say no, but I'm happy to be here. So when I think about these leaders and many others are probably in the room and I just don't recognize you or don't see you from this far, I think about the interview that Oprah had done with LinkedIn CEO, and he talked about compassionate leadership, right? So someone who embodies a compassionate spirit, someone who is empowering, encouraging. So when we're here, when we were freshmen or sophomores, juniors, seniors, we look up to you guys, right? So you guys have laid a great foundation for this program. I know personally for me, even in some of the meetings and some of the strategies that I implement, in the forefront is purpose. So this does not stop here. It's not INCORE, ISCORE only. Racism is bigger than all of us, right? So really being purposeful, and you guys have been great, compassionate leaders, and I thank you all for that. And also thank you for just having us here today. Appreciate that.
The next guy, I'm actually literally going to pay him to say my name because, I'm just going to do that. Because nobody's actually,
yes.
I'm going to pay Caleb.
First campaign contribution right here.
but I'm paying him to say my name as an influential
I would like
person.
to stand here right now and endorse my friend BJ Kalangala as my vice presidential candidate.
This has nothing to do with Iowa State, but I'm just saying.
BJ, you were going to be last on my list because I want to save the best for last. No, but let me go back. Okay. No, there's no bet. It was just everybody touched me in a different way. I'm going to start with Lynn because I hadn't heard your name yet. Lynn over there.
Oh, I didn't see Lynn. Sorry. Lynn and Patty. I forgot those two.
Yes. And then Carmen, of course. Carmen was kind of like, I considered her one of my moms here too. Thomas also. And then Richard, who was awesome seeing you today. I think one of the first faces I saw. And then I haven't seen him here, Todd Holcomb.
Yep.
He's, I think a president of community college. So he's not here today, but yeah, he was, I think, the leader of my cohort group. And then Japana, of course, which crazy, like, saw you in the airport like 5 years after ISCORE, and you still remembered my name. And I thought that was amazing. Whoa, he remembers me out of all these people that he interacts with throughout the years. So super impactful. And then how you nominated me for the Brenda Jones Change Agent Award last year. That was, like, it was touching. And then, of course, VJ. VJ was the one that got me into the ISCORE program. And I think we've had a huge impact on each other's lives because he keeps trying to copy my hairstyle and my beard. I was expecting a man bun.
I had a man bun.
So thank you all. Thank you.
I tried.
I don't know how to follow Caleb. But for me, I would say I'm going to separate it into kind of two pieces. I would say on the personal side, as a Hispanic, as a, multicultural student, minority student at Iowa State, I would say offices like MSA, which at the time I guess was Carmen, Lynn, Richard. I was a grad student, I think, at the time. There were others, John Gardner. There's a few faces and names that escape me at the moment, but the impact that that office had on me, I was part of the president's leadership class. I was in the dean's leadership class when Dean Wickert was in the College of Engineering. Those things all impacted me as a person. Also programs like the LEAD Learning Community, Leadership Through Engineering Academic Diversity, and the George Washington Carver Scholar, and the folks that were involved through that, they all had a personal impact in me. And in a way, it was about a sense of belonging. Where did I belong as a Puerto Rican kid from Puerto Rico who had traveled? I had been on a plane before. Sorry, those that hadn't. But I had been on a plane before, but I got here and I was like, what do I do now? And I came here with 2 people from my high school and I didn't know anybody else. And so it was about finding a home away from home. And so those offices and those people and those offices on campus brought that to me. And so on the other side of that was an academic support network. And so as an engineering student, being a female in civil engineering, which there's not that many, if anybody needed to know, even still today, the number's pretty low. But being a female and also being the only Hispanic female within the program in my year was very difficult as well. But finding support within the College of Engineering, specifically through the Office of Outreach and Recruitment, which I worked for either volunteered for Carver hours or worked for the majority of my time at Iowa State. There's people in that office that I still work today. And a big reason why, in the back of my head, I had always said, I want to work in higher ed at some point, and preferably at Iowa State. And so after 8.5 years in the corporate world, I decided to kind of get out, like Jason did, get out and stop being an engineer and come do this. And it's great to be back, and in a way, it's good to be home. So thank you.
Thank you. So we're kind of out of time. I have a few more questions, but we're going to do those. But I just want to, one round of applause for our panelists here. And do we also have other alumni of the program, student alumni, student scholars in the audience? Could you just stand up? Just if you're able to stand up, just recognize them too. obviously we're not able to put everybody on the stage here, so I just want to make sure we recognize all of the, the alums of the program. And as you can tell, it's such a empowering program and project, not only for the students, but also for the, I'll speak for myself, just for me, the last few years that I worked and was part of this. So it's been such a blessing. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Name is Joelle Mitchell. I serve as the Assistant Director of the ISCORE office. Before we dismiss for our afternoon breakout session, we have a location change for the Woo Child. Let me say it. Woo Child! I'm tired. Black women learning, working, and living on a predominantly white campus is in the gallery room. So that's the location change for that, if you're interested in that session. So enjoy. And we'll see you back here, 3:10 sharp, everybody, in the Great Hall for our commemoration.